Ugh. I can actually smell this clip. I don't know about you. Yeah. Jesus Christ. Hippie Alex Jones over here is dedicating his entire existence to, I guess, luring Marianne Williamson into saying stupid shit, according to her, and going after Biden. This is Biden proof he lied. This is it. So Joe Biden has formally announced the 2024 White House bid with a glossy piece of propaganda. But how many of his claims can be backed up? And by asking for another 4 years to finish the job, is that really good enough? This is the, yes, no. Obviously, we have to bring back Trump because that's the only thing that will guarantee hippie Alex Jones a safe passage.
4 more years! 4 more years! Well, what about the last 4 years, Joe? You bloody old liar!
We've only gone through 2 of them, stupid.
Hello there, you 6.4 million awakening wonders. Thanks for joining me on this journey towards awakening. You know, on the other side of the pain, there is a glorious individual you were born to be. Ignore their label and love to the people across from you. Be with us all enslaved. Turn on the notification bell for the beast. It works for the machine. Take the head off the serpent. Inform yourselves. Continue to educate.
Oh my God, shut the fuck up. Just get on with it.
The White House haunting its corridors with old lies and deep state corruption. Getting the
Jesus Christ.
CIA to back him up in blags to keep laptops out of the press. This is a time...
Back him up in blags and keep laptops out of the press. What laptop would that be, Russell?
...where we must change the world. Or should we just do 4 more years?
Yeah, I'm good with 4 more years. It's, also, for the record, it's my fucking country, not yours. You don't vote here. You don't live here. Shut the fuck up. As soon as you find a replacement for Rishi Sunak, then come over and we'll tell you to shut the fuck up again.
Back to...
You live under a monarchy.
Up by glossy propaganda and lies. Let's see how Joe Biden's propaganda stands up to the hard facts.
Jesus Christ, the hard cuts.
That's what people use at the beginning of movie trailers. Even that noise and that sort of shot and the smoke and everything.
Are you going to play Trump's end of the world bullshit?
Oh, January 6th, January 6th. Keep frightening people about January the 6th. Bad things do happen in the world. But the...
Yeah, just randomly. Bad things happen. It was, January 6th was basically a tornado of right-wing hate and violence. But yeah, it just happened.
Worst thing of all is an intransigent state that will...
The worst thing is an intransigent state. Motherfucker, there is no intransigent state. We have a functioning government. We actually have a goddamn country.
Lie to you and will use propaganda rather than ever directly address...
It's a campaign ad, fuckstick.
...addressing your needs by changing the system that's creating these problems.
Literally, this president has pushed more climate-friendly legislation than any president in history. Period. Not even close. Never mind the rescue package, which, again, if we'd have had control of the House and the Senate and continued to have that control, we would have the child income tax credit. That would be there. We would have that back. But because of this fuckstick, like, well, it's just 2 pairs of the same fucking pair of pants, isn't it? 2 legs in the same pair of pants.
Freedom.
Okay, freedom is it? Stay free is one of our personal catchphrases.
Yeah, it's propaganda. I understand. You don't actually mean it. And the stay free part is bullshit because you actually believe that we all live under some sort of Illuminati cabal. You can't even do it. But if you believe everything that Russell tells you to believe, there is no freedom on earth at all, ever. Even he, you have to assume, is a voice of the deep state.
It's the name of our show over on Rumble. Freedom is...
Yeah, it's sales. You're selling it because it appeals to a certain group of people.
Vital, because freedom suggests that the level of the individual, the level of the community, the level of the nation, if you need such a thing as a nation.
Do you really? Yeah, I know. Go out and live in the fucking woods by yourself then, asshat. if you even need a nation. What the shit? What kind of... Honest to God. This is so fucking tiresome. This asshole is only alive because he lives under the cloche of the British government. Because he has always been protected by it. Honest to God, this dude is not living in landless or in lawless regions in the Pakistani mountains. The fuck out of here.
There ought be the ability to be who you truly are, and we hope that includes respecting and loving one another, taking on responsibility.
Or I could just sit here and shit on an old man because Tucker got fired and I'm upset about it and it's not in my fucking country.
And duty without an external authoritarian force. Freedom is a very, very powerful word.
Without an external... motherfucker, if there wasn't an external authoritarian force, they'd have set fire to your house 10 years ago. You rich prick. The fuck? You think Antifa would spare his neighborhood because he's like, that's Russell. He's all right. He's worth $85 million, but he's nice, you know?
Word is obviously an impactful word. It's a word that the Joe Biden administration has chose to use centrally for this campaign. But the problem is they've been in government for 4 years now.
No, they haven't, dummy. They have not been in government for 4 years. They're halfway through the fucking term.
So we know what they're about. You can't...
No, you fucking don't. And by the way, tell me what they're about.
Can't whoop up the same hysteria.
Whoop up?
Again, can you let me know in the chat and the comments? Why?
Jesus Christ. You know, join in our own little, like, bullshit claptrap gaggle down here. Like, that's my ringing the dinner bell for the fucking trolls.
Once you've seen what they've been doing.
Personal freedom.
Sorry, what have they been doing? Don't you have a responsibility at that point? And this is basically, I feel like I'm watching Maria Bartiromo with a beard.
Freedom is fundamental to who we are as Americans.
If you believe in freedom, what you're saying is we should be who we are. That you trust people to do the right thing. So you
Right. So if they define themselves as trans and they want to live that way, they should have the freedom to do so as American citizens, no matter what state they live in. An individual state shouldn't put limits on their existence just because they have a difference with who that person identifies as or feels they are. Right. Which is something Democrats support and Republicans are running roughshod over right now. It's not the only example, but it's a pretty good one.
don't need to, for example, surveil them the whole time and
surveil them the whole time? Who the fuck does they think being surveilled the whole time? And why would it be new to the Biden administration? This motherfucker thinks the U.S. government has been up everybody's ass since 1965.
steal their data, right?
Steal their data.
In February, the Biden administration urged Congress to renew a warrantless surveillance law that...
Oh dear. Oh no. Don't tell me. Oh, God. God blimey. Well, we'll have to look at that, won't we? Hold on. Let's see. Biden admin urges Congress to warrantless valence. Blah blah. There you go. This is the Guardian one. This is yeah, here it is. Let's take a look, shall we? Go away. Biden administration urges Congress to renew warrantless surveillance law. Section 702 casts as an essential tool to gather intelligence about terrorists and other foreign targets located overseas. Yeah, can Americans really feel free? What if your freedom, I guess you don't have the freedom to be a member of ISIS and ship bombs home. Biden administration has formally urged Congress to reauthorize a high-profile warrantless surveillance program, warning in a letter to top lawmakers that allowing the provision to expire could sharply limit the intelligence of foreign threats and targets the government collects. The law, Section 702, allows the U.S. government to collect the communication of targeted foreigners abroad by compelling service providers like Google to produce copies of messages and internet data, or networks like Verizon to intercept and turn over phone call and message data, because the rights and privileges of being a U.S. citizen are only afforded to U.S. citizens. And certainly not enemy combatants or terrorist organizations. But the law is controversial because it allows the government to incidentally collect messages and phone data of Americans without a court order if they interact with the foreign target, even though the law prohibits Section 702 from being used by the NSA to specifically target U.S. citizens. So in this particular situation, the law allows you to go after terrorists, but if an American calls that terrorist, you might hear the phone call, because that's fucking new. Jesus Christ.
Allows the government to collect messages and phone data of Americans without court order. That amounts to...
No. Did you... No. That's not what it does. That, if you'll notice, it says, but the law, allows the U.S. government to collect the communications of targeted foreigners abroad by compelling service providers like this. But what he's saying is that the law prohibits them from targeting them, but it allows the government to incidentally collect messages and phone data of Americans without a court order if they interact with a foreign target. If you repeatedly call a terrorist and you're getting bomb-making instructions, you do not have... and you're stupid enough to think that the American government isn't checking the phone lines of known terrorist organizations, I'm sorry, it's your ass. Again, this is why Trump got in trouble calling Russia all the time. That's how Mike Flynn got busted.
Allows the government to collect messages and phone data of Americans without court order. That amounts to without judicial process and without your consent. When it comes...
No. There is judicial process. The judicial process is the passing of the law that allows for this kind of stuff, that you don't have to go through those steps when you're collecting data on foreign terrorist sources. And if you catch incidental phone calls from Americans in that process, it's because they are engaged in terrorism. One would think. Now, the interesting thing is that if an American was scooped up in that stuff and was charged, I'm guessing they would have quite the case in court if indeed that was attempted to use against them, because they could argue they were specifically targeted, and then the government would have to make the case that they weren't.
To saying it, he believes it. When it comes to legislating, he's against it.
Yeah, he's against it because he wants to collect terrorist data from foreign sources that we've done for decades.
Could there be any more literal interpretation of freedom than not locking people in cages? I don't think so. Let's have a look at his record on incarceration. Biden pledged he'd cut incarceration in half. During his administration, the federal prison population has grown for the first time in a decade. So in spite of all that stuff,
these people are guilty, you realize. The whole point coming in was we want to cut the number of nonviolent people in jail, but violent crime went up, so more of those people, and they committed these crimes across state borders. I'm sorry, but we're not going to lower our prison population when they're full of rapists and murderers and attempted murderers and assaulters and domestic abusers and child sex predators just because the numbers won't come down. And we don't have... But from the initial start, by the way, when they already expunged a lot of people's court cases or convictions that they had for nonviolent drug offenses that they had on their records for years, that was one of the ways of helping it. But, and again, the growth rate in it is percentages. It's another thing entirely. This is just bullshit.
Like I remember, do you? Let me know in the comments and chat. He says stuff like, it's wrong that African Americans make up such a large percentage of the prison population. Something that I frankly believe in strongly. Well, guess...
Do you really? Really? Because Ben Shapiro doesn't. Tucker Carlson doesn't. Shit, Jimmy Dore doesn't. Those are your buddies. Why don't you bring that up with them? How come you actually have... You're bringing it up in this, but you've never brought it up with those guys? Why not?
guess what? The prison population is increasing. I suppose it's just a coincidence that large corporations use prison labor as cheap labor to increase.
No. That's it. We're not doing this because they're getting cheap labor. That's not how that works. I don't know how it is in England. That's not how it works here.
Their profits. It can't be connected to that because Joe Biden.
And by the way, those aren't federal prisoners. The corporations that do use state prison labor, for example, in particular states, are using just that, state prison labor. Most of the time, by the way, it is like people who are in jail for passing multiple bad checks and shit like that. It's not violent offenders, and it's certainly not federal offenders.
Believes in.
They can't do anything about that.
Freedom. You heard him say it, didn't you? He couldn't be lying.
Again, why is that a lie?
But you know, around the country, MAGA extremists are lining up to take on those bedrock freedoms.
Much of this is clearly an attempt to address the idea that their opponents are extreme.
Really? And why would you say that, Russell? Why would we think that they're extreme? Simply because they are.
The idea of extremity is, of course, subjective.
Sure, absolutely. So they have the right to their own definition, is what you're saying? So he can call it extreme if he wants to, and they can call him extreme, and that's that, and it's politics? Okay, thanks.
What is extreme? What might be extreme to you may not be extreme to me when it comes to...
To body odor?
Personal practice around
syphilis,
culture, sexuality, ideology. These are things that we have to be able to, as much as possible, determine as individuals, of course, always with the caveat that we don't harm anybody else. But if Joe...
Define harm. What that seems to be something to do with, like, buried with the trans idea. Is that what's you're taking that kind of right-wing storyline? Is that what you're going for? I just want to I want him to expound on some of this
Biden
shit.
Loathes MAGA America so much.
Yeah, he's separating them from Republicans you can actually have a conversation with, who are sane.
And the MAGA movement so deeply, you would be sure, right, that he would never, under any circumstances at all, use Democrat Party funding to underwrite the campaign of MAGA candidates. I mean, that would be hypocritical.
Yeah, he didn't do that. That's not his... He doesn't actually do that. You know, he doesn't actually run the DNC.
Disingenuous,
It's almost like you don't know how anything works.
that you've got no real morality, that you're just a careerist strategist who cares about serving corporate interests and will get into government no matter what, even if it involves paying for the campaigns of the people you claim to hate, amplifying messages that you think you believe, you say you believe, are harming America.
Yeah, again, he didn't do that. That was local DNC people deciding they were going to, if they had to fight with one MAGA candidate, they'd rather go against the more extreme one because it's easier for them. And it worked, by the way. And they won. They got the seat. It was a strategy that functioned. They didn't ask fucking Biden's permission or get money from him.
America. So paying for their advertisements,
They're not. He did not. This is just a lie. And by the way, the name of this video is apt. I had assumed Proof He Lied as the name of this video was that he was talking about Biden. Apparently, this is just proof that Russell is a liar.
Commercials, that would be off limits, right? Wrong. Democrats spent tens of millions amplifying far-right, they call them far-right, candidates.
Yeah, they call them that. Don't get mad. You're mostly my audience. I'm not calling you far-right. Obviously...
in 9 states in an attempt to ensure their candidates face less appealing opponents in the general election. You might be a cynical, jaded individual and say, well, that's brilliant strategy. If you genuinely believe that the messaging of these, as they say, far-right candidates is negative, then you wouldn't want to amplify that messaging because more people are going to be subject to it.
Well, in a certain case, Russell, for those of us that aren't fucking stupid, you have two candidates. One who's vocally more extreme, and one who is who seems more, mainstream Republican. Both will carry out the exact same policies. Both are going to implement laws or run interference on laws that will help people in line with that MAGA movement. The calmer, more sedate candidate might, in many ways, trick people into thinking that they're more in the middle of the road, but ultimately cause the same harm. Whereas the loud candidate, will embarrass the party and ultimately is going to vote for vote. It's the same count. Both of these candidates are identical in the material impact they will have. Just one of them is more of a crackpot and more, quite frankly, honest about what's going on. So in some ways, Russell, you could say that the Democrats want to run against the more honest example of the candidate and the party.
You believe that they're racist or homophobic or against people's identities and culture later on in this piece of propaganda. The right to love who you want to love. You wouldn't amplify voices that were against that, would you? You'd want to.
Yes, you would, because you would want people to know who they were actually voting for. And in the case of some of these more, the subterfuge of the rhinos, the regular order Republicans, who will ultimately vote this way if given half the chance, but are better at hiding that, the impact on people's lives is the same.
Oppose those ideas. That's why this piece of propaganda is so galling.
Cutting social.
Or they want to take on the purest form of this argument and call it out for what it is.
Security that you paid for your entire life while cutting taxes for the very wealthy.
Right, so it's wrong to cut taxes for the very wealthy. Have we found a principle? Have we found a principle in there? Let's have a look at the facts. The Democrats' Build Back Better bill is a gigantic tax cut for millionaires and billionaires. Under Biden, Democratic lawmakers pushed a regressive proposal to allow wealthy property owners to deduct more of their state and local taxes, aka...
They just put the SALT back. Trump took it out. So you're not double paying. You don't pay the state and the federal government for the same fucking thing.
SALT from their federal taxes. This
already existed.
Initiative provides almost no benefit to the working class, but enriches their already rich donors.
Who's putting those quotes in there? What is the brackets in this? This is that's from The Guardian. Was that the first one, though? Was it all The Guardian? Hold on one second. Both of these? Yeah. Yeah. Another Guardian story, interestingly enough. Okay, Guardian. Democrats are pushing tax breaks for the rich. They'll cry. Hold on. All right, we'll see what this is. This is a Guardian. This is okay. This is, what do you know? It's David Sirota. What a shock. Hi, David. David's still got a chapped ass over Bernie. So there's okay. No wonder new survey shows nearly 2/3 of Americans see the party as out of touch. Okay. The last time Democrats held presidency in Congress, the party spent its first year in power enriching big banks that had cratered the economy because they salvaged them, and the government ultimately and the taxpayer made money on the bailouts, whatever. And then letting public money subsidize the Wall Street bonuses of their campaign donors. No, they subsidized the Wall Street bonuses of anyone because Wall Street was allowed to give out bonuses to anybody who helped them pay back their loan to the government with interest sooner. The sooner you got us out of this mess, you got a bigger bonus. And again, part of that strategy is why the Fed made money on the bailout. The spectacle gave Republicans a political bailout in the 2010 midterms because of folks like Sirota bullshitting everybody, allowing them to depict themselves as anti-establishment populists, blah, blah, blah. It just flipped every 2 years. 12 years later, history is rhyming. Democrats were vaulted into office on popular promises to tax wealthy, but they are now generating national headlines about their proposal to provide new tax breaks narrowly targeted to enrich their affluent blue state donors. Why? Why would that not affect all homeowners, as like upper middle class people across the whole fucking country? Just as a new survey shows, nearly 2/3 of people, okay, blah, blah, blah. The situation is like a storyline from Veep satirizing liberal elitism. As millions of voters are being crushed by healthcare costs and higher energy prices, and as Democratic lawmakers have, quote, abandoned a $15 minimum wage. Yes, the Democrats just want to destroy everything. It's terrible. And here they are just trying to get everybody back to work. It's awful. Democratic leaders are pushing a regressive, leaders, by the way, not Biden, but leaders, sure, to get SALT put back, deduct their state and local taxes from their federal taxes. Okay, this initiative, which would provide almost no benefit to the working class, almost, because they don't consider anybody who commutes to work a working class. That's David Sirota doesn't think that anybody with a mortgage over $2,000 is working class in this day and age. His idea of what working class is halted somewhere in 1978. Isn't some small tweak. After Democrats gutted their wildly popular initiatives to expand Medicare and lower drug prices, the tax initiative has now become one of the most, try to get it passed is what they did. Terrible. One of the most expensive provisions in President Joe Biden's entire Build Back Better legislation. Under current law, the relatively small number of Americans wealthy enough to itemize their tax returns are barred from writing more than $10,000 of their state and local taxes levies off their federal tax returns. In 2019, it was just 13% of Americans. That means, in 2019, that means the entire SALT debate is about a policy. And by the way, this is during a time post-COVID when that group of Americans in 2019, that was a much fucking smaller number post-COVID. Yeah, you'll recall. And the damage done to people's lives because of COVID and the loss of money and income and forget it. Anyways, it means the entire SALT debate is about the policy almost exclusively affecting a small number of rich people who are already, and by the way, that's not the rich people. That 10% below the 3%, there's a huge fucking drop off after 2% of the normies. And really it's about a minuscule number of rich folk, mimicking Republicans who lie through their teeth, pretending, yeah, this is just Sirota bitching about this thing. So, yeah. All right, writing an article for The Guardian.
The Biden Democratic lawmakers pushed a regressive proposal to allow wealthy property owners to deduct more of their state and local taxes, aka SALT, from their federal taxes. This initiative provides almost no benefit to the working class, but enriches their...
Okay, so that's what I was looking for. So this initiative, which would provide almost no benefit to the working class. This initiative provides almost, instead of would provide, provides almost no benefit to the working class. Almost no benefit. And the benefit it does give you is not worth it. You're not fucking worth it. But enriches their rich donors. Okay, so he did that. He did those brackets. That's not from the story. Okay.
They're already rich.
Or his producer.
Donors. Another example of using rhetoric to appeal to your audience while legislating on behalf of your donors. You know how...
You do realize those donors are paying taxes. They're just paying it to the state and not doubling up federally. So the state and the federal government aren't just double dipping on everything. They are paying taxes on that. I mean, unless they're Donald Trump.
How this works, don't you? You don't need me to tell you this, but it's nice to see.
No, because I do need you to explain what you think.
All in one place, isn't it? It's nice to contrast it with their propaganda, isn't it?
Banning books and telling people who they can love.
So the culture war that they claim is so bad.
Yeah, they claim it's bad, but, you know, gays and chicks and trans, I mean, they've got more, they're fine.
They stoke it on two sides. One, they fund people that say stuff that they claim is hateful. Two,
yes, because that's how the people, whether they say it or not, are going to vote, and they are running against that. They are standing up to it. By the way, this is somebody, by the way, who platforms these motherfuckers. He interviews these very people for free, not as part of a campaign. He has them on his fucking show.
They use provocative imagery in their own propaganda. They ain't...
Oh my God, not provocative imagery in a campaign ad?
About healing America. They're about breaking America, because
yeah, that's this ad. I feel broken. I watched it and I was shattered.
They benefit from the fracture. Your wounds are their treasure.
Your wounds are their treasure. And this is fucking propaganda? This is true.
Dictating what healthcare decisions women can make.
One of the things the Biden administration is always banging on about is health.
Yeah, they're always banging on about fucking women and their bullshit. Women, chicks and their nonsense. I mean, even made a woman as vice president. I mean, enough already.
Healthcare, well, here's a fact. 15 million American people are currently being quietly phased out of receiving Medicaid and Children's Health Insurance Program benefits. Just quietly.
Huh, quietly. On a state level?
Phasing them out.
Because the states aren't picking up the numbers?
It won't make much.
And by the way, That's from COVID. That wasn't permanent. It was never meant to be permanent. They're not just kicking the poor to the curb. This is as people go back to work.
Because they're ill.
All while making it more
And by the way, he's pretending to not even, like... Well, I mean, I don't know if he knows it. He might just be fucking stupid.
difficult for you to be able to
I think it's more cruelty, though. Russell, I'm accusing you of cruelty.
vote.
Well, we know now that when it comes to claiming that elections are fraudulent, the Democrats are just the same as Donald Trump. When the
No.
Democrats lose, they claim that there are fraudulent electoral machines, broker machines, Russian hacking. They'll say whatever they want to say. Whoever...
Yeah, they just say it, whatever. Like, they all say it. All Democrats have done this. I'm like, every time we turn around, somebody's charging up the steps of the Capitol, building a fucking gallows. Yeah, I mean, I can barely think of... remember all the calls to hang Joe Biden during the, the re-election campaign of Barack Obama.
wins the next election, whether it's this guy, whoever else the other party put up, the one that wins will say, thank you, we're going to heal America, while legislating on behalf of their rich donors, and the side that loses will go, electoral fraud. We can only bring you this fantastic content because of the limitless...
Then fuck you. Oh, he's selling ExpressVPN. There you go. Yep.
Big tech. When you identify, like personal, they keep me extra months. In October 2021, Democrats scaled back plans for a crackdown on tax cheating, bowing to an aggressive lobbying campaign by the banking industry.
You don't say. Did they bowed, did they? Let's see. Facing a Republican barrage. I'm sorry. What's the top part of that thing? Hold on. Democrats facing a Republican barrage. Scale back plans. Oops, sorry. Back up, if I may. Democrats facing a Republican barrage. Scale back plans. Here, this is hold on. Boop. This is from Reddit/politics. This one right here, this New York Times one. We'll open this here. Democrats facing a Republican barrage. Scale back. Banks would have to provide data on accounts with annual deposits or withdrawals exceeding $10,000, not including payroll and beneficiary deposits, rather than $600. But again, this is going after people who have $600 in deposits on things like Venmo and other sites, as opposed to $10,000. This is actually like they were going to get like the finally tune it, and the Republicans were like, nope, you're not going to go after anybody. Tax cheat, bowing to an aggressive lobbying campaign by the banking industry. Listen to this shit. This acts like they're oh my God, the trillionaires with $600 accounts everywhere.
Plans for a crackdown on tax cheating, bowing to an aggressive lobbying campaign by the banking industry. So who do they work for? Do they work for all these like construction workers and people of various colours and identities, who I believe they should be working for, by the way, that we should be healing America, that we should be accepting diversity, inclusivity, all these...
Well, then you do think there's a distinct reason to vote Democrat over Republican. Except you're not a fucking American, so fuck off.
These words they use are, in my opinion, the right words, as long as you include that people want to live differently all along the spectrum of different identities and...
Yes, I mean, if somebody wants to be a Nazi and open fire on some Jews in Brooklyn, I mean, it's just live and let die, I suppose.
Cultural values, as long as you accept that, we're all cool, aren't we? They bow to the pressure of the lobbying industry. You know that. That's
the lobbying industry. They didn't have the votes because of the Republicans to expand checking people's account balances below 10 grand. They already have the above 10 grand, dummy. They weren't seeking to remove the above 10 grand part.
Well, there is a lobbying industry. And
by the way, he doesn't even know that. His fucking producer threw that headline up, and he's just bullshitting his way through it.
Never forget this electoral pledge, because it's certainly more reliable than any other pledge Biden made. Joe Biden told rich donors on the campaign trail that nothing would fundamentally change if he were elected president.
Right. We're not going to become a communist country. That's what he meant. Because that was one of the fear tactics. We're not gonna have a digital dollar. We're not gonna shift our trade policy to to authoritarians first.
Great work, Joe. 4 more years! For much of the last decade, Democrats complained that Republicans were backed by dark money. Then came the 2020 election, where donors and operatives allied with the Democratic Party embraced dark money, surpassing Republicans in 2020 spending. One thing we've got to stop is this dark money. Or, I don't know, maybe we could use dark money ourselves and...
Oh my God, this is fucking pitiful.
More than our opponents. Dark money is good.
Also, what the fuck does that have to do with Biden's campaign in particular, by the way, as opposed to just Democrats in general? Because this seems to be less about his campaign ad and more just like an overall attack on Democrats. And why would he be doing that?
When I ran for president 4 years ago, I said we're in a battle for the soul of America.
Often the rhetoric is correct. We are in a battle for the soul of America, for the soul of the world, but you can't access the soul without some spiritual values. And if you don't believe in spiritual,
well, then you've just given up on that access, I suppose?
you know that I do. What you need to just...
No, I don't know that you do. I think that's bullshit. I've heard you yammer on this claptrap on fucking Bill Maher's show and everywhere else, and you talk about and around spirituality without ever putting any meat on the bone at all, which would include apparently your physical person.
Moral principles, kindness, service, gratitude, community.
Yeah, none of those characteristics have you shown in this video or any other. None.
Unity, ideas that you can't just change depending on your required outcome. We can...
You do all the time. You are specifically engaged in lying and character assassination in this for the benefit of the other political party in our country. You will not go after Trump's response video, I predict. And in that process, you will support him in that regard. You will also defend the Ben Shapiros and the Tucker Carlsons of the world with an amount of like openness and charity to their ideas that you do not show to Democrats in an equal fashion at all. They are honest purveyors of evil thought, and therefore that makes them better than flawed purveyors of good thought.
Not allow these MAGA voices. Here's some money for some MAGA voices. We cannot stoke this culture war. Stoke the culture war. We have to legislate.
How do they how are we stoking the culture war by protecting people who are marginalized? Are we to not come to their defense? We're just, is this the Ukraine argument writ large over every topic? That anytime someone is attacked, if you defend them, you are the warmonger? Because that seems to be the argument here. That seems to be what Russell sells every fucking time.
On behalf of ordinary Americans, thank you for the banking money. We're gonna crush ordinary Americans. You have to have...
We're going to crush ordinary Americans. That's the whole... that's why Biden, the first thing he did is came in, how can we get to 10% unemployment?
Principles that cost you.
And we still are. The question we're facing is whether in the years ahead we have more freedom or less freedom.
Certainly you're going to have less sick days, in spite of his pledge to ensure that American workers would have 7
Is he going to go to the railroad strike?
days per year sick days available to them is another pledge broken. As part of his 2020 presidential campaign, Biden pledged that he would ensure all workers have at least 7 paid sick days. In December, Biden and the US Congress forced workers to accept an agreement without sick days and made a rail strike illegal.
No, they paused it. They didn't make it illegal. They have the right to do that because it's the transport for the entire fucking country. Also, all of those workers make more than double the national salary average.
Fortunately, it didn't.
All of them. They already have 2 weeks paid leave. They already have 5 sick days on top of that.
Lead to an ecological disaster involving trains careening off of the tracks and spilling.
Careering. The word is careening. You invented the language. Fucking use it, you Brit bastard. Secondly, have you checked how many train wrecks there are in the U.S. every fucking year, or indeed in any country that has train tracks? Shall we? Hold on one second, if I may. Let's see. Well, congrats to the folks in the UK that they've lowered their number of derailments by 31% in 2019 and 2020 being the lowest figure recorded. Gee, I wonder, it's almost as if nobody fucking went anywhere, and so there were fewer tracks being used everywhere. Okay. There are, let's see, 285 train accidents in 2020 to 2021 on the main line. All right, well, we don't worry about the little fucking shitty ones that are in there somewhere. There are 18 potentially high-risk train accidents, PHRTAs, down by 7 compared with the previous year. So in 2020, you guys had 25 very dangerous rail. The Office of Rail Regulation, the ORR, has their report. There you go. Here's your generalized passenger fatalities have fallen over the last 2 years. That's good. In 2018, you only had 16 people die, and 13, and then 10 in 2020, 21. And I think that might have something to do with everybody just not going out. And mainline railway, non-workforce fatalities in stations or on trains dropped down to 2. So I guess that's anything, where somebody just keels over, I suppose. What about under the trains? Non-workforce injuries, boy, that dropped off when the train travel disappeared, but it humped right along right there. Look at the number of injuries. That's a year. By the year, there are 2,042 injuries to passengers and members of the public in stations or on trains during 2021. All right. And let's see, slips, 258. Platform edge incidents, ouch, mind the gap, 83. 19 contact with object, that object being a train and the contact being you. Assault and abuse, 16 people, I guess, beaten or hit. And other injuries, just 1, which is good. Workplace fatalities, there were 5 workforce fatalities in 2020 and 2021 in the UK. Much smaller country, by the way. I'm just putting that out there. The number of suicide and non-suicide fatalities on the main line fell this year. Well, that's good. This is suicide or suspected suicides. This is people who just jump in front of trains in the UK. And here's the non-suicide fatalities. I'm glad that's going down. It's a good sign. It's good that they all go down. There we go. There was an increase of 342 near misses. These are the near misses. They're connecting more. Near misses with pedestrians at mainline level crossings increased to a record high. So because they have more sensors. So road vehicles has gone down because they're blocking more of their roads. London Underground. Ooh, that's not good. Look at that. 8 passenger fatalities just year before last. There we go. So I'm just saying. Has Rishi Sunak come out or Boris Johnson admitted their culpability in these train fatalities? I think it's cruel for them to ignore it.
Chemicals all over the environment, which, as you know, the Democrats love so much. The rail industry's
what the fuck does that mean? And then we're going to the Jacobin
lobbying group. Oh, this is just a coincidence, probably not relevant. Rail industry's lobbying group spent more than $13 million lobbying Congress, but that probably doesn't make a difference, right?
More rights or fewer?
Oh, it's weird. Just lobbying Congress. This is about Biden specifically, who hasn't, who's in the Senate, but he was vice president after that. He hasn't been in Congress this entire time. But again, Congress is both parties. Do you think it was pretty even? I mean, what's the general makeup of Ohio and Indiana where these latest wrecks happened?
I know what I want the answer to be, and I think you do too. This is not a time to be complacent.
No, it's not a time to be complacent. And it's certainly not a time to be funneling American tax dollars towards an unwinnable proxy war. President Biden...
Oh, fuck you. An unwinnable proxy war. Ukraine's fucked. They just got to take the rape and call it a day, right, Russell? And unwinnable. This is the American conservative he's quoting right here. President Biden said, let me be clear, our forces are not engaged and will not engage in the conflict with Russian forces in Ukraine. He had made this promise many times. There will be no U.S. boots on the ground in Ukraine. Right. And?
Biden said, let me be clear, our forces are not engaged and will not engage in the conflict with Russian forces in Ukraine.
Right. And that is, to this point, absolutely true.
He made this promise many times. There will be no US boots on the ground in Ukraine. The recent Pentagon leaks proved this is not the case. Or alternatively,
bullshit. They are not. That picture is a lie. They are guarding our embassy.
alternatively, a lie. Soon
in a war zone.
after the Ukraine war broke out last year, Congress voted to appropriate $40 billion in aid to Ukraine. Every
these terrible people, to these Nazis. How could they?
single Democrat voted for it. This is another bit of information. It's probably irrelevant, but I'll just give it to you anyway, and you can decide whether it's relevant using your own powers of deduction. The defense sector spent $25 million lobbying the Democrats during the 2020 campaign cycle.
The fuck does that have to do with anything? What do you think they did? They took that money and they went home and they went, hey, we should probably trick Russia into murdering a bunch of Ukrainians and sending rape squads into Bucha.
But that can't be connected to the $40 billion.
It isn't. It is not. Because I got news for you. Our defense teams did not lobby the EU to come to Ukraine's rescue either, or Norway and Finland to join fucking NATO, you dumbass.
Dollars of aid, half of which ended up going to the military-industrial complex, and 70.
No. Nope. Half of which did not go to the military-industrial complex.
80% of the weapons that went.
It's actually a military. There's actually fighting going on. People are actually fighting and dying. You fucking cartoon.
Into Ukraine can't be traced now, and the Pentagon have failed 5 consecutive audits. These things are all just probably conspiracy theories that have just somehow been proven by facts.
Oh, look, anybody else notice how much he's talking like Don Jr. and Tucker right now?
President Trump has not punished senior Saudi leaders. Would you?
Yes.
One thing I remember is in those head-to-head battles with Donald Trump, when Biden said he would make Saudi Arabia a pariah.
Make them, in fact, the pariah that they are.
Which is not only a catchy and almost rhyming sentence, it's a policy we can rely on and know won't have been broken. Biden vowed not to sell more weapons to the Saudis if he became president. Last year, the Biden administration approved 2 massive arms.
Hold on. This is from Truth Out. Practically nothing seems to get in the way of war, and specifically the sale of U.S. War weapons brought. Oh, this is the approves the arms sale, the one that had already been signed off on under the Trump administration.
Sales to Saudi Arabia and
they just went ahead with
the
it.
United Arab Emirates. 4 more years.
And the UAE and Saudi Arabia, different. Who gives a shit? They're the same. They're the same country. Same everything.
That's why I'm running for re-election.
The problem is with propaganda is it works. Like the music works, the sepia imagery works, the close-ups work of
your hyper edits work.
Vulnerable.
No, it actually doesn't. This is fairly terrible.
People of a variety of views. If you're a decent...
vulnerable people of a variety of views. Yes, something you won't find in a Republican ad at all.
An upstanding individual, and basically we all are, then you...
Yeah, basically. We all are. That's why we hope that Biden doesn't get reelected and Trump gets another shot. You know what I mean? Because we feel like it's fair. We should just ping pong back and forth. Also, not my fucking country.
You find this kind of stuff appealing. It bypasses your ability to reason. Because if you used your ability to reason, you would look at the facts and say, look, this Democrat...
No, if I would look at the facts and address the lies that you put forward, particularly in this, and... logically, I would come to the determination that you have an ulterior motive. That your goal is not peace and spirituality. That that's bullshit. That you are clearly trying to be the hippie Alex Jones. Mainly because you seem to be under the impression that there's more pussy in it.
Party, they're not going to do anything. And the Republican Party aren't really going to do anything either. Should we have a look at this whole system? Because clearly the technology exists now for us to have...
Well, yeah, the Republican Party aren't going to do anything, Russell. Unless you're a woman or you're gay or you're trans or you're poor or you need Medicare or you need Medicaid or you need Social Security or you need any kind of public assistance at any point or you need clean water or any of that. Like, you don't really, they're not going to do anything unless you need those things.
Have a genuine independent movement. You've got independent media now. We can countenance all their false narratives.
No, you can't. And you're making up your own fake narrative and your fake news. I'm calling it your fake news. And you're an enemy of the people. There we go. Since you seem to like that kind of language.
We can build a political movement that's a genuine reflection of the varying requirements of American people. If we have...
No, you can't. You are not an American citizen. You are not a voter. Fuck right off. Go fix your own system before you come slapping ours around.
Have more decentralization and democracy. People...
Decentralization, motherfucker. We have a federalist and state system. We have We have limits on the federal government. If we didn't, we would have never gotten rid of fucking Trump. And by the way, you live in a fucking monarchy.
Different cultural requirements could live different types of lives, and the conflict between them could ultimately be ended through democracy, direct democracy, decentralized, communal democracy.
What the fuck are you talking about? You think there's some sort of version of like Walking Dead politics where Neganville would suddenly be all cool with women in positions of power, or gay people being able to get married, or fucking brown people being able to go to the same school as anybody else? Are you fucking nuts? Oi.
Would that work? Yes, of course it would bloody work. It wouldn't be perfect, it would be better than this. Now, rather than letting...
It wouldn't be perfect, it would be better than this. Okay, no it wouldn't. We had a system like that in the fucking Wild West and in the Dark Ages. It resulted in the constant death of tens of thousands of people all the time.
When that happens, they can keep you tethered by your heartstrings into believing that some doddering old sod who's basically...
Doddering old sod. Sod would be sodomite, would be queer, would be anal rapist. Technically speaking, this man recognizes Prince Andrew as a higher order of human than Russell. His country does. Just saying.
A liar, career politician, deep state affiliate who works...
Deep state affiliate. Does he get what happens when you're a deep state affiliate? Do you get 10% whenever anybody goes to deepstate.com and...
For the globalist corporate machine, he's going to do anything different in the next 4 years than he did in the last 4 years.
It hasn't been 4 years, dumb shit.
Even if you want to optimistically believe that Joe Biden's lovely, and on some level he will be, because he's a human being like you or me. He's not going to be able to do anything, because he works within a system that ain't
So do you, shithead.
changing anytime soon. Let me know in the chat in the comments if you agree.
Oh, fuck, what a bunch of bullshit.
Because I know America. I know we're good and decent people. I know we're still a country that believes in honesty and respect and treating each other with dignity.
Where was the honesty and respect when they were keeping the Hunter Biden laptop story out of the news because they thought...
Go fuck yourself. What? And by the way, Hunter Biden laptop story is exactly what it is, because there is no Hunter Biden laptop. Fuck you. And also, how does that, even if any of it was true, everything in the laptop, just assume it's all true. It ain't, but let's assume. What the fuck does that have to do with Joe Biden as a presidential candidate? Is every human being who would run for office on the hook for what their children might do as adults without their permission or outside their control? Does that work right there? Because if that's the case, then, well, I mean, it would have to be the case for Trump to run again, because Eric and Don are shitty humans.
It would affect the outcome of the 2020 election.
Why would it? Are you just angry about the failed October surprise?
Where's the honesty and respect then?
That we're a nation.
Where's the honesty and respect then? I don't know. If they had that evidence, why didn't they release it a year earlier when they had it? When everybody could look at it and inspect it and realize it was bullshit. Why hold on to it until a month before the election, Russell? Because it's bullshit, and by the time everybody realizes bullshit, the election's over.
Where we give hate no safe harbor. We believe that everyone is equal, that everyone should be given a fair shot to succeed in this country.
As always, the stuff that they're saying is actually true. That
right, and what he's actually working for is actually true, shithead.
Is what should happen, but that isn't systemically possible anymore.
Yeah, it's not. There's no way that you can't even do it within the system. It doesn't matter who you vote for. There's no point in voting. As a matter of fact, if you want to vote for Joe Biden, you might as well just do it, because the whole system's just rotten from the inside. And I don't mean mine. Of course, I live in a monarchy in a very small country that used to be an empire and now is sort of dwindling and self-involved and full of, punkish racism and bullshit. But, from my opinion. And, the best thing we ever did was fucking Canada.
That's what needs to be addressed. The system is broken. We should actually...
The system is broken. Therefore, well, then why are you even addressing a campaign ad? What's the point of elections?
You just start saying, like if you're talking to a drunk or something, goes, are you 4 more years and it's all going to be okay? Well, that'll be nice. Oh, good. There'll be no more wars like the last 4 years. That's nice. And everyone's going to...
She's right. They talk to voters and people like you're talking to drunks because we're all stupid. And we're none of us are looking at the world in front of us as it truly is. We're not. We need to listen to Russell from across the fucking pond, who will tell us what life in America is like. I know he fucking sure isn't it.
I love it. Okay, will you sit down, have a blanket? Should we take over? Yeah, we should probably take over. I think he's wet himself.
Again, like this ageist bullshit around him is just garbage.
So if you're with me, go to joebiden.com and sign up.
If you actually go to that Joe Biden website, it simply asks you for some money. Let me know.
Yeah, it's a campaign website, stupid.
In the chat and the comments, which one of Biden's lies you find most offensive. Let me...
Jesus Christ. Which one of Biden's lies you find most offensive? I'm probably going to go with it, that China doesn't own him. I'm going to go with that one, yeah?
You know, which stories we've missed, which hypocrisies we've not pointed out. Let me...
How about Trump's fucking weird video about death and destruction? You bastard. Like, this is so fucking weak.
You know, if you think there's something we're missing that they're actually doing...
Yes, I think you're missing a lot of mental synapses.
The best that they can, and maybe we should accept this total bullshit. Let us know.
Look at that. Maybe they're doing the best they can, and maybe we should accept this total bullshit. But at least he's not putting his thumb on the scale on one side or the other.
All of it.
I mean, the whole thing's just...
Let's finish this job. I know we can. Because this is the United States of America. There's nothing, simply nothing we cannot do if we do it together.
This is a product of corporate meetings and commercial consultancy. Like where people say things like, we'll use...
Hey, asshole. You have a staff that cuts this together and just did a jump cut into your fucking face for this piece. They made that decision and you had conversations about it.
Joe.
And you block off this entire fucking show. You decided at one point, you had a little corporate meeting when you moved over to Rumble that you would set up this studio that they would pay for, by the way, either at your house in another location or at another fucking studio across town. And you decided to take a television set with playing a video of your fucking backyard in it to give the illusion that you're still in your habitat in the middle of the fucking woods in your cabin where you cut your own fucking wood. That's propaganda. This is propaganda. Those are all fucking fake plants. That, like, well, they might be real plants, but they're in the studio for the illusion that you live there. Just like those fucking books.
Biden's handwriting. Now, look, Joe, with greatest respect, some people think that maybe you're a little old, and that doesn't need to be a problem because we can make you look dynamic, and we can say that the fact is that you're a statesman and that you're experienced. All of it is a construct. When it is contrasted...
Yes, just like your entire fucking outfit. With your weird fucking... I got these from a fella who went to Tibet and he sells them on Etsy, and your little fucking... weird, like your decision to make the farting crow your emblem on this, to like, oh, you know, I'll think if we do a little graphic, well, we say the name of it and then the bird farts at the end of it, it means we're not taking ourselves so seriously, so I can hide behind that fact and shit all over everyone's value systems, and then at the end of it go, oh, just having a bit of fun.
With the facts of the matter, which point to a deeply corrupt system that is...
Yes, a deeply corrupt system called democracy. It's filth, and it's caused by the people themselves.
In part the result of career politicians and the inability of ordinary self-governance to emerge through a...
Ordinary self-governance cannot emerge because I guess we're just, as Americans, we're too stupid. I guess that's it. I think we're all just... Yeah. We're just, as Americans, you know what, we should just apologize for the Revolutionary War and go back under the fold then, maybe.
Assemblies, through true accountability from the military-industrial complex and the corporate and financial world, a genuine ability to run your...
Tell you what, fix the number of Russian oligarchs who are guilty of direct acts of murder, who own fancy real estate in London, then we'll talk.
Communities, a genuine opportunity to be different and live differently and respect different values and traditions.
And again, the Republicans are passing laws specifically so people can't. You're accidentally knifing the tires on your stupid fucking point.
And ideologies. Again. You can't ever, ever allow that to happen because that will impede the interests of the powerful. This is
in the interest of the powerful. And by the way, when he says the interest of the powerful, he means Americans, even the poorest. Because even the poorest American is doing better than some of the richest in the developing world, is the argument. And therefore, like, whatever's going on that's evil in the world, it's because Americans, are chipping off more than they fucking deserve, which we, of course, don't do in England.
In a way, beautiful piece of propaganda, but it's completely untrue, doesn't hold up very well to the facts, not...
No, you didn't address the facts in it. You took allegorical stories related to policies, especially ones that Democrats wanted to get through but knew they couldn't because they couldn't get the votes because Republicans would filibuster them, and then wrote that as, well, Democrats really are just bowing to donors instead of just trying to get past what they can get past when they have to face the threat of anonymous holds in the fucking Senate.
During a time where there's been a massive wealth transfer, where there's been increased surveillance, where protest laws...
And they have little meetings where they pop the video in and it goes in and on when I say these things.
On the rise, the militarized...
Look at that. Look at the little jumps where he pulls in. But at least we're not being manipulated through visual means.
Of the police force is happening. The pharmaceutical industry, record profits, all of these things.
The pharmaceutical industry, record profits. The idea, so, and by the way, this is just anti-vax shit. Because Russell himself, I would be curious about his medications. I don't know that he would cop.
Things are facts. You have to accept it.
By the way, you know who's got record profits? Illicit drug dealers. Mm-hmm. Of which Russell has done his more than his fair share to enrich over the years.
Embrace these.
That involved, by the way, the deaths of his fellow Britons, his fellow Londoners.
Things. Even in this propaganda video, it was an opportunity to say, look, I know things have been really mental. We haven't been able to do the stuff we want. You can't ever do that. That's not how they talk. And that's why they fall prey to people who are able to talk somewhere within the meter of...
I see. So he's going to lose to Trump because Trump's going to speak honestly about, because that's the ad Trump is going to run. Look, we may not have done anything I said, and I might have been lying out of my ass, but, you can't blame me. It's the only way you can get elected in this fucking dump.
Of authenticity, even if I don't think they're going to be particularly successful either. Let me know what you think we've missed.
Oh my God, it's just a claptrap. Ugh, God. It's so fucking boring. Ugh. And secondly, like, this asshole sells this idea that our system, because we have two parties, is useless, and it's all based on just the Illuminati runs fucking everything, deep state establishment, blah, blah, blah. And again, I know he's just trying to carve off the hippie Alex Jones slice, and it's a very lucrative thing. There's a lot of money to be had in calling for that the end of the world is right around the corner. And in his particular case, what he's selling is this idea that the end of the system, we just got to tear it down. And in its place, like manure, flowers will just bloom out of it. As if we haven't had chaos and disorder throughout history, and that democracy itself is a delicate thing that we have managed to keep afloat for a couple of hundred fucking years, while this asshole, again, still lives under a fucking monarchy. The fucking nerve. And it's interesting, it's almost like he spends all of his time shitting on our system, because he doesn't have the guts to go after his own, for two reasons. One, he will, by walking around in England, be confronted constantly with people who watch his video, know what's going on because they're connected to the political system there. They watch the news, they know what's happening, and they can go, you do realize you were talking out of your ass, right, on specific issues in the UK. But he can talk about the United States because he's pulling from the same ignorant horse shit that they would see on their end. The limited stories and the kind of, shit on America concepts that you see in The Guardian and others sometimes. He'll just nitpick those pieces out, or he'll piecemeal those little bits out and form his opinions on that. And there's plenty of people in the UK who will line themselves up with that belief system and go right along with it because they don't experience it every day. They don't live over here. They don't know the fucking country. It'd be like if I did a show about Australian politics non-fucking stop. I could just make shit up left and right. And as long as it loosely looked like some of the headlines from there, you wouldn't, like people in the States wouldn't fucking know. But the UK viewers, or I mean the Australian viewers would go, what the fuck? He's not a US citizen. He's a Brit. He lives over there. Unless he's dual these days. But anyways, the point I'm trying to make is that he doesn't live over here and he doesn't engage with his own politics in his own country at all because he would physically come in contact with people who would call him on his shit. Whereas he can arrange on his show to only talk to people who reinforce his bullshit. And none of them are going to, because they're so, violently anti-Biden, that crowd, or anti-Democrat, or think we're all fucking commies and blah, 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 that they'll side with him even if he is talking shit. He is a citizen? Where's he but he's living in London now. He's from there. He's got dual citizenship. Is that what it is? Yeah, he's a dual tool. Gotcha. Then no. Because he can't vote here. So fuck that. I love my yard, okay, blah, blah. But anyways, the point I'm trying to make is, fuck him. He lives over there, he talks shit about it over here. That's what I'm saying. And the reason he does it is because there's more money in it. Oh, he's an anchor baby. He married an American. I see. Because she's got it. Right. Jimmy Dore, Greenwald, Taibbi, and all these guys want the crash and then the guillotine. Taibbi doesn't. Taibbi's a fucking... he's just a hedonistic dickhead. But yes, I would say Russell would be too much of a coward for the guillotine, but he would let other people do it. Dual tool, exactly. So anyways, I gotta go. Love you guys. I'm gonna go feed my girl, and then go see some magic, and then go see a band because that's magic. And I hope you guys get to see some entertainment this weekend at some point, even if it's in the comfort of your own home. Hopefully you can go out and see something live, including Sexy Liberal, which is coming to the Saban Theater in LA in October. And then next year, during the campaign season, we're going to be out at least once a month, if not more. I'm working on that. Fingers crossed, hopefully it holds, but there are dates being set up. I've said yes to all of them. I've just given them a blanket, like, I'll do them. You put them up and I'll be there because it's important and it's crucial that we get out there and state our case. So there you go. Anyways, much love to you. Take care of yourself and take care of somebody else. And then and we have a radio show tomorrow. So I'll see you guys in the morning. And then, of course,